Hi guys, this is Mr. Urrego, and today we're gonna start reviewing for our EOC end of course exam, which is in geometry. So I'm taking this from the county. Let's practice. We're gonna start with introduction to geometry. There's gonna be a series of videos, and our first ones are gonna be introduction. So we're gonna review the beginning. Let's start. Question number 1. Here's a standard, just in case you wanna search for it. GCU. I'm not gonna go over that. Thomas defines perpendicular lines as lines that intersect each other at a point. Explain why Thomas' definition is not precise enough. Perpendicular lines, let's start from there. So Thomas is talking about perpendicular lines. In order for me to have a perpendicular lines, intersecting is not enough. This is intersecting. This is intersecting. They're not perpendiculars. Intersecting, I need to talk about the angles. Alright, so my two lines have to be intersect at a 90-degree angle. How can I make sure that I have a 90-degree angle? If lines, let's say line 1 and line 2, if my lines have negative reciprocal slopes, I have to talk about the slope. So my slope 1, let's pretend that my slope 1 is, I don't know, 2. Okay, how much has to be the slope of my line 2? In order to guarantee that these two lines are perpendicular to each other? Then I just said that there have to be negative reciprocals. Reciprocal means you flip the fraction. And negative, if this one is positive, the other one has to be different sign, negative. So these two are negative reciprocals. So that's what he has to add. Lines intersect each other at a point, but the lines, the slope of the lines have to be negative reciprocal to each other. Okay? Slopes, negative reciprocal. Alright. Next question. Question number 2. So here I have, let's say, given the angle pairs below, draw and drop the name that matches each angle pair and state the relationship between the angles. So let's scroll down a little bit more and see what the whole thing is about. So I have the drawing, name of the angle, and the relationship. Are they congruent or supplementary? Congruent, supplementary, congruent, supplementary, congruent, supplementary. Excellent. I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 choices, but they give you 6 different answers. Okay, so here we go. So corresponding angles, same side interior angles, vertical angles, alternate exterior angles, complementary angles, alternate interior angles. So let me explain one drawing. Alright, and then we talk about the names itself. So here we go. So I have this drawing. I see this arrow and this arrow. They're in the middle of my lines. Those arrows means the two lines are parallel lines. Okay, they need to be parallel lines in order for me to talk about this. Alright, now let's call this line 1 and line 2. The two lines are parallel to each other. Alright. In between the two lines, I call that the inside. That's the inside. Alright, or interior. Inside or interior. Here on the top and here on the bottom, that's the exterior. Exterior, exterior, inside, interior. Alright, so those are the areas. Interior in the middle, exterior on the outside. That's how we're going to find out what are the names of this thing. Okay, so here we go. How do we call these two? First of all, are they interior? No, they're exterior. They're on the outside. Okay, so this is exterior and this is exterior. Alright, how do we know if they're in the same side or alternate? Okay, so here we go. We have a line that is cutting my two parallel lines. This line is called transversal. Alright, if the angles are on the one side, then they're same side, or in the right side they're the same side. They have to be both on one of the two sides of that line. Okay, they have to be both on one side or the other one. This is your left side and this is your right side. If they're on the same side, then they're called same side, interior or exterior. If they're in opposite sides of that line, then they're called alternate. So in this case, I have this angle on the top and I have this angle on the bottom. But if you notice, one is on the left and the other one is on the right. So they're alternate angles. Now, they're exterior, so they're alternate exterior angles. That's how I know. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. All right? Let's go the next one. Oh, they're in the inside, right? If they're inside, they're called interior. Okay? Now let's look at the transversal. Oops. Let's look at this transversal. So I know those two angles are interior. This is the left and that's the right. Both angles are on the same side. Okay? Same side. So they're called, look at the name right here. Same side interior angles. They're in the same side because they're on the left side both, and they're in between the two lines, therefore they're interior. So same side interior angles. That's what the name goes here. Now, just by using common sense, we can understand that those two angles, they don't have the same measure. Okay, they don't look the same. Okay, these two on the left, they look the same. If they look the same, they're congruent. Congruent means they have the same measure. All right. Here, the right side, they don't. Okay, so they're not congruent. So if you have two choices and you have to guess, then they're supplementary. But what does supplementary means? Supplementary means you add the angles. Measure of angle 1 plus measure of angle 2, and that's equal to 180 degrees. That's what supplementary means. So these two angles are supplementary. Let's pretend that this is a 40-degree angle. Then the top has to be equal to 180 minus 40. Whatever is missing. In this case, it's 140. Whatever is missing. Okay? All right. Let's talk about this. What is this? Vertical angles. That's a different word, right? So vertical angles, guys, we don't need to check between the two lines. You see that I'm making a connection between an angle on the top, on the left, and the bottom. Here, an angle on the top and the bottom. You know, I'm making connections between those angles that are touching the two lines. When I talk about vertical angles, it's in between. It's technically only in one line. So let's concentrate on this intersection right there. I'm concentrating on that intersection. Vertical angles are opposite through the vertex. Right here where they intersect, that's called the vertex. That's a vertex, right? Because a bunch of angles are connected right there. So vertical angles are opposite on the vertex. I know that these two angles are congruent because they're opposite on that vertex. They're congruent, same measure. So vertical angles are congruent, and those two are vertical angles. Let's look at the top. This is 140. This is 140. They're vertical angles. That's the reason. Okay. One more thing. Because I don't want to skip into the figures. I'm going to explain all the angles right here. So let's look at this 40. Okay. Let's look at this angle. So if they have the same position on the bottom and the right, those angles are congruent. And those angles are called corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. Alright? Corresponding angles. Excellent. What else are corresponding angles? Look at this 140. Alright? On the right side, I'm going to put two arcs. On the bottom, that's 140. Alright. Let's go to the across. That's 140 as well. Guess what? The bottom one is 140 as well, because it's corresponding. These two angles are corresponding to each other. Last but not least, look at this 40-degree angle. On the top, on the bottom and the top, this is 40 as well. They're corresponding, same position. All right. Now, So we talk about corresponding, alternate exterior, same side interior. What about alternate interior? I know that I have a lot of stuff here. Let me erase a little bit. So what about, let me erase a little bit. Okay. Okay. So let's come back to this. So my example was that this is 140 and this is 40. They're supplementary. Okay. We noticed that this was 40 as well because it's corresponding to this one on the bottom. And I know that this 40 and the one across is 40 as well because they're vertical angles. All right. Now let's go back to alternate interior angles. Interior. Interior means in between these two lines, right here in between, interior. Alternate. Let me get a different color. Let me, I don't know, green, for example, let's do green. So alternate. Look at my transversal. All right, this line is called transversal. So alternate means in different side. Interior, they're in between. So this 40 and this 40 are alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles are congruent. All right, and I just explained all those relationships. One more thing. So if we know it, let's go back. I have 40 here and I have 140 there. 140 plus 40 is equal to 180. And we said that supplementary angles is when you add two angles and you get 180, which means these two angles are supplementary angles. This angle on the left and the right, look, 140 and 40 are supplementary angles. If I need to find these two angles, I said, oh, this 40 and that has to be supplementary angles because it's a straight line. A straight line. Look, let me draw here a straight line. This angle is 180. I can divide that angle doing the straight line. So now I have one angle on the right and one angle on the left. If I add those two angles, I will get 180 degrees. Those are supplementary angles. Any straight line will give me 180 degrees. So look at this. Let me go back to my drawing. Straight line, that means this is 180. If one is 40, the remaining will be 140. Okay? Supplementary angles. So any two that are next to each other are supplementary. They're also called linear pair. That's a special name for that. Okay, we discussed the whole thing. What about complementary angles? We don't have any complementary angles because now instead of adding two angles equals to 180, then the whole idea is that I add two angles and my sum will be equals to 90. So complementary angle means I add angle 1 plus angle 2 and I get 90 degrees. That's what complementary angle means. Okay, so guys, I'm going to stop right there. I hope this was clear. We're going to go over more. So this is part 1 of this review for Introduction to Geometry. Thank you for watching.